Hi everyone, my name is Tucker Griffin. I am a kindergarten teacher in Atlanta, Georgia, and for my community engagement vlog, I decided to observe one of our first grade students who has been diagnosed with ADHD, and he also suffers from a few other behavior issues as well. He was one of my students last year in kindergarten, and we recommended last year in the fall for him to have an educational evaluation, which he was finally able to go through with in March of last year, where he was diagnosed with ADHD at 6 years old. So this year, I still maintain a very close relationship with him. I don't get to see him in his classroom as much due to the fact that I have my own classroom, but I was able to use my planning periods to go into his room and observe how he's been doing and to see how his medicine that he started this semester has been working for him. So I went in during his whole group math time. There are 17 kids total in his class, and during the time I went in, they were doing math all together with their teacher in the front leading the lesson, and the kids participating. He takes his medicine every morning with our school nurse, and while at times we're seeing some improvements with this medicine, he still is really requiring a lot of different kinds of redirection and will also require many different strategies for the time to come. During this particular day, he had a rough start to his morning, and often when his mornings start off badly, or if something is going on that has just put him in a mood, it's really hard for teachers to get him back on track. During the math time, this teacher was up front leading the lesson while the kids were supposed to be following along in their workbooks. And one of E's biggest struggles with whole group lessons is waiting his turn and not speaking out of turn and taking over the class. He loves attention and loves to be the center of attention, and usually when he knows the answer to questions, he immediately will give a response, whether it is his turn to or not. The teacher had to constantly remind him the importance of raising his hand and giving other students a chance. After about the third time he had shouted out over a classmate, he was asked to move to a table by himself. This is something we used to do a lot with him in kindergarten because it's sometimes difficult for him to be at a table amongst other kids and without, distracting them from their work. Once the lesson was over, the teacher turned it over to them and they were able to proceed on their work on their own. Math is one of his favorite subjects, so it is something that he constantly finishes quickly. And the hard part with him is once he finishes something, he is just not able to wait until everyone else is able to catch up. So he was bouncing up and down out of his seat this time and moving about the classroom. The teacher tried using just verbal redirection at first to see if he would correct his behavior on his own, but he had just gotten to a point where he was so wound up he just wasn't able to stay and wait his turn. So his teacher had him move over to a spot in the classroom where they have different fidget toys for him to use and to focus on while all his classmates were able to catch up. It's very interesting to have that much high energy while taking medicine. He just recently turned 7. So there's still going to be lots of different strategies that will be needed to use for him. But it was very interesting to see that a lot of his behaviors are still very similar from kindergarten. So I waited a couple days before going back, and I decided to kind of check in with this teacher in the morning, maybe to see how his morning started off so I could kind of go back and catch him on a better day to see how he does taking his medicine, starting his day off well. So I checked in one morning and he had a good start to his day, and I saw him and he seemed to be in a good mood. So I went and observed during their small reading group time. This is often the best way for him to learn because there's usually only about 3 or 4 people at a table, which allows him to get a lot more interaction with the teacher, a lot more attention from the teacher, which is just one of the ways that he thrives in the classroom is when he's able to get that attention. He had taken his medicine in the morning, and when I came into the room, he was sitting nicely with 2 other friends working on fluency reading in a book. And reading is something that he has really struggled with. Math is kind of more of his jam, and reading is often where we lose him. So it was nice to see that he was trying and participating and working hard, because I have seen him quit many times too with reading, and it's hard for him to push himself because he tries very hard to be perfect at things. He has a pretty unstable family life, which contributes to a lot of what is happening in the classroom and a lot of what is out of our control at times when he is picked up after school and what goes on at home, which I'm sure many of you all have seen him with different kids and stories too. I think that the medicine is a good start, and there are times where it regulates his body and regulates his brain and is bringing some positivity into his classroom. However, there's still going to be a lot of different strategies that are going to be needed with him. He has been through play therapy and therapy with his family, and he sees our counselor in our school regularly, which really helps him because he's able to get that one-on-one time that he always loves. He's a very honest child, will always tell you kind of what's bothering him, or will let you know how his day is starting off, which is nice for us teachers. Even when he is being difficult or having harder days, we know that he is trying, and there are times where he is aware, but he just cannot control it. So I continue to check in on him as much as I can, while still focusing on my own students. But for my community engagement, it was just a great way for me to see, I was so used to the child before the medicine, and now I was able to observe him with his medicine, which we were never able to have in kindergarten class. But thank you so much, and good luck on y'all's projects.